Welcome back to Peace, Health, and Joy. I'm your host, DiAnna Wallace, and today we're going to spend some time talking about joy. Just hearing the word joy, I hope it brings a smile to your face, and I hope it leads you to just pause for a moment and take a big, deep breath in through your nose, hold it and let it out through your mouth and pause. It's okay to pause. In fact, we need a pause in our lives if we even want to feel or experience joy. I really believe that. So, this episode may be a little different because always when I share with you, I want to share something valuable, something practical that you can take away with you right after you finish listening to this episode. And if all you take away with you today is a pause, an extra moment in your day, it's literally like getting extra time in your day to just stop, take a big breath, exhale, and take a moment to reflect on what in your life brings you joy. I'll tell you what, this is a little extra personal to me this week. A couple weeks ago, I got super brave and I went in and I had some blood work done. And it was just routine, proactive, not like, oh, wow, I think something's wrong. Just, it's been a minute. So I think I'll go get like a comprehensive blood panel. So I did. And last night I got the results. And overall, they were really good, like really good. Like I was so grateful. But there was one number, and I kind of had been wondering about this one number. And I thought, I will be curious to see if there's anything going on in this department. And sure enough, the number's not too high. It's not in a concerning range or anything like that, but it's not where I want it to be. And I'll just share with you, it has to do with blood sugar. It has to do with my HB or hemoglobin A1C. Now, I was sharing this with my daughter earlier today. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to share it here too, because it pertains, in my opinion, and also in my experience, to joy. And I'm just going to bring you along on a journey with me. Okay. So I saw the numbers last night and I was like, I had wondered and what this is. And I'm going to share this little thought with you as well. When we get results to any kind of medical test of any sort, sometimes we can see the result and we can think, oh my goodness, this has just happened. But that's not the case. In real life, whatever the number is, whatever the situation is, even if it leads to a diagnosis, this is not a new situation in your body. Most things that develop in our bodies have been coming on for a while, okay? And then it just usually takes a little while. Not always. This is not always the case, but often it's been coming on for a while. Then we get the test and it confirms what we've already suspected. But what do you do with that? Do you freak out and go, oh my gosh, this is going on, or that is going on, or oh, it's worse than I thought, or oh, it's always good to go, oh, praise Jesus. It's not as bad as I thought it was. But it's an opportunity for awakening. It's an opportunity for doing better if we need to. So with this blood sugar thing, it really was not a big surprise, and it's not elevated. I'm not even pre-diabetic. Like it's not a big deal. It's just I want it to be a little lower. And so when I saw that, I thought, well, I had kind of wondered why. Why would I wonder about that? Well, lots of different reasons, but I'm going to share one of them. And this is how it directly relates to joy. I've shared on this podcast before about knowing women who have lost their mate and like their mate died. And within 6 months, they are diagnosed. Not always, not every woman, okay? But I have known several women who within 6 months of losing their mate to death, they have been diagnosed with diabetes within 6 months. So, in both traditional Chinese medicine and in Ayurveda, which comes from India, both of those ancient schools of wisdom, as far as like medical stuff, each one of those schools of thought is over 2,000 years old, closer to like 2,500 years old, okay? And then there's Western medicine that's a little over 150 years old. But in both traditional Chinese medicine and in Ayurveda, it is known, it is recognized that there is a relationship between the emotion of joy and the pancreas. I'm debating, do I want to call it an organ? Do I want to call it a gland? It's kind of both. The pancreas has two parts, a head and a tail, but let's just call it the pancreas. And that'll encompass everything. But the pancreas in ancient medicine is known to be related to joy. Well, weeks ago, over a month ago, in fact, I had planned for this episode today to be on joy. So all this business about my blood work, blood sugar, all that stuff, this is just an added bonus. This is just me sharing with you my personal journey. And you think about how in the world would pancreas and joy be related? But think about it. Think about the sweetness of life. Wow, what makes your life feel sweet? Next month, I will be welcoming my first grandbaby. That is going to be some sweetness, like big time sweetness, right? I haven't welcomed a grandbaby before, so I don't really know how sweet it's going to be, but I know it's going to be sweet. I moved to Alaska several months ago, almost a year ago now. And when I first moved here, it was so sweet to get to be here, to get to live much closer to my daughter. Rather than 3,000 miles, I'm about an hour away now. And that is sweet. Life, oh my gosh, I just love it. Life just has all kinds of sweetness. And when life feels sweet, the theory is our pancreas is happy. We have joy. It's good. And then there's the harder stuff in life. And have you noticed the hard stuff of life and the sweet stuff of life can actually be going on at the same time? At the same time. Last year when I moved up here, and about 6 weeks later, I needed to go back to Arkansas because my mom was in her final days. Now, before I moved up here, I had spent 15 months spending time with her, being in Arkansas with her, with my family, as she was on a journey, to entering her eternity. And during that time, it was a hard time. It was sad. It's extremely sad. I would not describe any part of that experience categorically. I would not call it a sweet time. There were sweet moments, but it was a very sad, hard season. It came with other things. Have you ever noticed that, how life gets demanding and crazy and it doesn't feel sweet, but at the same time, there is sweet stuff going on? Sometimes we have to look for it. Sometimes we don't just have to look for it. Sometimes we have to get out like a figurative shovel and dig in for any kind of sweetness if we're going to find it. But during that season, my mom was losing various capacities because of dementia, because of a cancer diagnosis. Walking through that with her was extremely sad. Very, very, very sad. Devastating. It's actually devastating. Simultaneously, in my life at the same time, my marriage was ending. And that was devastating. Simultaneously, I was bouncing around from one place to another for several months, for over a year, trying to just needed a place to stay because I was in Arkansas, but I didn't live there. I was just there to help with my mom, and so I did not have a home set up there. And so I ended up staying in over 20 different places in 15 months, and it was just a lot. Okay, do you hear that? That was like a lot. And any one of those things would be enough, but all of it together was a lot. And so I don't disregard that that was stressful. It was stressful for me. Here's the cool thing, it was stressful for my mom. And that's not cool. I say that. It's not cool at all. It's devastating. It was very stressful for her. It was very stressful for my former husband. It was very stressful for my family. It was so good to support me during this time, like to emotionally encourage me. It was just stressful. It was stressful for everybody. And even when you eat right, even when you exercise, even when you capture your thoughts, even when you spend time in God's word, even when you spend time praying, hard stuff in life can still happen, and hard stuff in life can still hurt. Just because we have a relationship with God, I, I know I'm not telling you anything you didn't know, but just because we have even a close relationship with the Lord, this does not excuse us in any way from the human experience that is life, that is loss. There is loss, it's part of life. And we we're not designed to like be able to clap out of that, like to be able to take a test and somehow avoid, those seasons are the seasons that refine us. Those seasons that are hard, the hardest, the ones where we completely run out of our own mental, emotional, physical capacity. Those seasons are designed, purposed to refine us. There is so much purpose in pain. Excuse me. And so when we are going through the hard stuff of life, and you're probably going through something right now. Most people are. Most people are hot smack dab in the middle of something, and there's a really decent chance they're not really talking about it a whole lot because it's hard. We don't know how to navigate it. And so we just do the best we can. And we know it won't be this way forever. Time will pass. We'll get a different perspective on what has happened, what is happening, and even what's going to happen. And so in the waiting, while we are actually going through the thing, you think, whatever happened to joy? Whatever happened to joy? And so that's really, I know I'm going through all this right now and I'm thinking, now I'm talking to you about joy today, and we are. But I wanted to give you just a little backstory, little sneak behind the curtain, or a little peek behind the curtain, if you will, of this is real life stuff. And it isn't like, well, I learned about something a long time ago and I'm going to share that with you. This is stuff I'm actually walking, I myself personally, right now. And so going through that season was challenging, right? Okay, how about that for a great understatement? But here we are almost a year later, and it just seemed appropriate. Hey, I know that season was stressful. I know that that season was expensive to my body, to my body, because I kept going, just like you do, just like you've kept going through the hard things you felt. You've, excuse me, things you felt and you've faced, and you've been through those. Maybe you're even in them now. We're still just going along, doing the best we can, right? And then we listen to this podcast that's supposed to be about joy, and this woman sharing about all this stuff, and we think, wait a second, I don't see the connection. But the connection is so deep and so certain. Because even when we're going through the hard stuff of life, inside of us, we're purposed. I really believe this for joy, to find joy, to create joy. So, back to earlier today, I was having lunch with my daughter. We spend the afternoon together on Tuesdays. That's our tradition right now. Because she's going to be having this baby. We both know our schedules are going to change. And so right now, Tuesdays are our special day. So I was like, she knew I had the test done a couple weeks ago. And so today I was like, oh, I got my results in, and overall is just really good, like really, really good. I'm so glad. And there are just a couple things that I'm aware of now that I kind of suspected, but now I know. And so it gives me an opportunity to become intentional. And so we talked about the blood sugar thing, and just a little, it's not bad. I know I'm going to keep saying that it's not bad, but it's just one that I would like to see different. So I said, so as you know, because of course she knows this, she grew up with me. I love that. The influence. Oh my gosh. But I'm like, as you know, blood sugar is related to the pancreas, and the pancreas is related to the emotion of joy. So I think what would be really good is for me to become more active in stirring up some joy in my life. Just to, well, just for the sheer joy of it, right? And so I am a naturally joyful person. Like, I identify that way. I believe God has placed within me joy. I believe He's placed within you joy. Sometimes we feel it. Sometimes we got to go dig it out with a shovel, right? But it's in there, and it's worth digging out. And so I was telling her at lunch, I'm like, really going to feel a lot of joy. It's been joyful to watch her go through her pregnancy. It has been so beautiful. Perhaps one day I'll even do a whole episode on her pregnancy and how powerfully beautiful and healing and exciting and sweet it has been. And when we get to meet this baby, it is going to be a joyful season beginning, right? Especially for me. I hear as grandparents, it's like especially wonderful because you go, you enjoy the baby, and then you leave, and they are not sleeping tonight. Ain't nobody at the house gonna be sleeping tonight. But as a grandparent, you just leave, and I cannot actually imagine that. But okay. And so we know that that's going to be a joyful season. But I was like, I just feel like I live in my opinion, possibly the most beautiful state in the United States, probably one of the most beautiful places on the planet. And so this summer, I'm really going to task myself with getting out there and enjoying what Alaska has to offer, to really savor and soak up all the joy I can in this beautiful location. And so what that will look like is actually doing some things that you might do if you came as a tourist, because as a person who lives here, I don't really do the touristy things so much in general. But I'm like, but some of the touristy things really give me joy. Now, I'm going to take a second because there's a value in the pause. And I'm going to ask you, when was the last time you really considered what gives you joy? So I'm asking you now, what gives you joy? What's that thing you do that when you do it, you cannot wipe the smile off your face? What is that? What is the thing that you do that when you finish doing it, you savor it for days, maybe weeks, maybe even months, and you just can't wait till the next time you do it? What is it? There are lots of different things that bring me joy. I love spending time with my family. I love spending time with my daughter, but I also have three of the most amazing women on the planet as sisters. And any moment that I get to spend with them, whether we're on the phone, whether we're in person, whether we are on Zoom, whatever it is, I love that. That brings me joy. And in real life, everybody kind of has their own things going on. And in this particular season, I live alone. And that's okay. Like I'm actually okay with it. And so I made this decision. I'm like, I'm going to get out and I'm going to do some cool things that give me joy. And I'm not going to wait until I feel like I have somebody go with me. No, no, I'm actually going to go do this by myself. I was telling her at lunch, I'm like, so I'm wanting to do like a glacier cruise out of Whittier. Want to do a day cruise out of Seward. I love to be on the ocean. I love to see whales. That is actually something that brings ridiculous joy to me. Any kind of wildlife, honestly, any kind of wildlife, as long as it's not like a bear or a moose when I'm out walking, any kind of wildlife is cool to me. To me. I guess I'm a little conditional that way. But when you're out on the ocean and you get to see, oh my gosh, around here, you might see belugas, you might see big old gray whales, you might see baleen, you might see just all kinds of things. And then there's walruses, and then there's seals, and then there's sea lions, which are way bigger than seals. And there's puffins, and there's all these different kinds of critters that live around the ocean or in the ocean. And those bring me joy. So I'm like, so I think I want to take these cruises. There are some other activities. I won't go through all of them because the next thing you know, I'll be like, promoting tourism here, which if you haven't been here, come at least one time. It's genuinely amazing. And so I went through my little short list with her of several things I want to do this summer to feed my joy, to help support my pancreas in theory. And also, I'm eating a certain way and I'm moving my body a certain way and I'm taking certain supplements and I'm doing the things. But I'm also going to come at it from this other extra holistic approach of I want to feed the joy in my body. I want to feed the joy in my spirit. Now, the joy of the Lord is our strength. The joy of the Lord is our strength. There is so much joy just spending time with the Lord, reading his word, and so forth. And that's in our spirit. That's in our spirit. But we also have a soul, which is our mind, our will, and our emotions, and we live in a body. The joy of the Lord is our strength. That's in our spirit. Our spirit man can uphold our soul and even our body. I believe that. I have seen I have seen someone so strong in their spirit even when their body was just done and still they carried on, and it was inspiring. The joy of the Lord is our strength. I believe that's in our spirit. And I believe that he counts on us to find the things that give us joy in our mind, will, and emotions and in our bodies. And so joy is important. Now, a couple other points I want to make about joy. One thing that brings joy that also is part of healing after a season of trauma is community. Did you know that? I know we've talked about this before here in the podcast. Community and play, fun, laughter, play are two components of healing following trauma, no matter what the trauma is, whether it's big T trauma or little t trauma, community and play. So all the things I just listed off, and besides the fact I'm going to spend an egregious amount of time in my kayak this summer, it's almost warm enough to get out on the lake and float around and paddle around in my kayak. That gives me ridiculous joy. I absolutely love it. Doing it with somebody else, even better, but I'll do it by myself if I have to. And I sometimes prefer to do that by myself because you just get quiet, you're on the water, the water's reflecting the sky. It invites us into a reflective mindset, a reflective space, a reflective just being, state of being. And so I love to kayak, and I will be doing that almost daily this summer as the weather permits. And beyond that, I've come up with these extreme, kind of more extreme kinds of things. And so I want to come back to this because it was kind of funny. When I was telling my daughter about my plan, I'm like, what do you think about that? I mean, yes, she is my priority. And so she needs help with a baby or anything I can do to help her. Of course, I'm going to be around, but we're looking at about 7 days this summer that I might go do these adventurous things. And so as I was telling her about that, so what are your thoughts about that? Like, what do you think about that? And she's like, oh my gosh, Mom, I love that. I love that you're going to go do that. So that sounds like a very good plan. She said, but I think you probably need to tell the people who know you best, who love you most, you probably need to tell them that you're okay. Because with that list like that, she goes, they're likely to think you have some kind of terminal illness. The way that you're like, I'm going skydiving and riding a bull. I'm really not. I'm not going to do either one of those. But but I do want to go do some really fun things that are not normal for me, but they could be. They could become normal. And in this next season, and in the last several months since I moved up here, I'm becoming more intentional. And I'm inviting you, like, if you need a permission slip, here's your permission slip to become more intentional, to find, like, you actually have to look around, find the things that bring joy into your mind, your will, and your emotions. Maybe it's going for a walk in a pretty place. I do that every day. I do it several times a day. Maybe it's hanging out with someone that just makes you smile and laugh, and they just bring joy into your life. Do that as often as you can. Oh my gosh, I love that. That is so important. It could be something kind of dramatic, like a day cruise or whatever it is. Find the things that give you joy and create time and space in your life to experience them. And what you can know is that is good for you. It's good for your mind, will, and your emotions. I believe it's good for our spirit man. It's encouraging, it's uplifting, but also it's good for your body. It's good for our body. That's where we live. We live in our body. We got to take good care of it. And not all the things that we do to take care of our body are in the physical. It can be things that are emotional. It can be things that are spiritual. And so as we kind of put a bow on this month, which is Mental Health Awareness Month, and we think about peace, having peace with God, having peace with other people, having peace with ourselves, a lot of times through forgiving ourselves or forgiving other people. So we think about health in our body, usually is what we think of, but knowing that the health of our gut affects our mental health, our mental wellness, our capacity even to feel or experience joy that comes from our gut, our body, our, oh my gosh, just everything. It all goes together. And I don't think we're talking about that enough, that you cannot separate your body, your soul, and your spirit. It's all interwoven together. And that's one of the things that makes this podcast unique. We just organically weave all that together. And then today, we've talked about peace, health, and joy. Today's episode is on joy, the power of looking around your life and saying and asking yourself, perhaps, what gives me joy? What brings me joy? How can I bring joy to other people? And then, How am I in community with other people? Whether that looks like going and having a coffee with a friend, whether it looks like going for a hike or a walk with somebody, whether it looks like connecting with other like-minded believers in the local church. We're purposed for that kind of community. God wants that for us. The verse, and I don't have its address, please forgive me, but it says, do not forsake gathering together with other believers. I'm totally paraphrasing. And not only am I not telling you the address, I'm paraphrasing now. Okay, but God wants us to get together with other people who are in the church, the big church, like the big C church, the church, like the church. He wants us to get together with them and be in community, to spend time together, but to really get to know each other, to connect on a deep level so that we can minister to each other. Part of ministry is encouraging one another. It is my hope, it is my goal, it is the purpose of this podcast to share timely and relevant encouragement with you. And that is part of being in a community. Although we may never meet in person, you're part of a community just by listening to this, but it is not the same as hanging out with the people in your local church. Finding a local church where you feel like you can connect and you can get involved. And then play. Oh my goodness. Playing together with other people, playing with your dog, playing with your horse, playing with, whatever, your grandchildren, if you already have them. I hope you're playing with them. I'm playing into just about wear the hair off of my grandbaby. Just having fun with them. I'm kind of kidding, but I really do hope to get to play and have fun with this little person that we have been anticipating for months now. And that will be a beautiful source of joy. Beautiful source of joy. And at the end of the day, even when all the weird stuff of life happens, it's important to be reminded, how much, how extravagantly God loves you. And that can bring joy in and of itself. And so that's where I want to leave you today. Thank you for being with me. And I hope, honestly, I feel like in this episode, I kind of skipped around a little bit, but I trust that there is something in here that has encouraged you, that has maybe even challenged you to think about, do I have joy in my life? Am I actively going after making sure that there is joy in my life, in my world on a regular basis? Some seasons of life, excuse me, some seasons of life seem to make it a little easier, and some seasons of life seem to make it a little more challenging. But in any season and in every season, it is worth pursuing joy. And joy is an inside job. I can go do all these fun things that I've talked about. It won't change what's going on the inside. There's an inner work that we have to do. We have to do the inner work. We want to spend time with God. He made us. He knows us. He loves us. But sometimes we need to forgive other people. I know I keep talking about that. Why? Well, because it makes a huge difference in our peace and to the point that we can have joy. Maybe we need to forgive ourselves. Maybe we need to just deal with fear in our life or rejection or whatever it is that we feel like is holding us back. If there's something like that's between us and joy, we can go do all the cool things in the world and we're not going to be able to feel it. We're not going to be able to get there. It's an inside job. And sometimes it's okay to do stuff in the outside too, and to just go enjoy God's creation. Golly, it can become a worship experience, never to worship the creation. But when you get out into creation, It's an invitation to worship the creator, the one who made the stuff. When I go out, oh my goodness, during the winter on a clear day, from my front door, I can see Denali, the highest peak on the North American continent, is over 100 miles away. And on a clear day, I can see that. I will never not be in awe of this massive creation. It is miles and miles high. You can see it from over 100 miles away. But the mountain's cool, but the guy who made the mountain, he's cooler. And he is the one who brings us joy. Whether we feel it, whether we feel like we need to go chase it down with a club, whether we got to go dig for it with a shovel, if so to speak, it's worth it. It's worth going after. And I do believe it is part of a healing journey, whatever kind of healing journey you're on. Maybe you're healing from a cold. Maybe you're healing from a broken bone. Maybe you're healing from a broken marriage. Maybe you're healing from losing someone very dear to you. Whatever your healing journey is, joy, joy is a gift. Go get it. Go after it. And I would love to hear from you. What brings you joy and how are you going after it? This summer, next fall, over the winter, how are you going after it? I would love to hear from you. One last thing I wanted to share today is an invitation, and this is really for my female listeners. On Facebook, I have a private group called the Healthy Body Book Club. Now, here's the key. It's not really a book club. It's just a community of other women who love the Lord, who are interested in holistic and natural wellness from a Christian perspective. And so every week I go live in that group and just connect. It is a community. This year, we are really working on becoming more of a community for the purpose of helping heal following trauma. Everyone has trauma at this point. Having just navigated a global pandemic, we all have had trauma. And that experience exacerbated the trauma in the unaddressed and unresolved trauma in everyone. And so community, and play. Those are the two keys to healing trauma. The Healthy Body Book Club is a wonderful place for community, for encouragement, for fun, for learning more about geeky health stuff with me. So I am inviting you to hunt me down on Facebook, the Healthy Body Book Club. You're invited. Join us. I'd love to see you inside. Have a wonderful week, and I look forward to being with you next week.